Hello, hello everyone. How are y'all doing today? Hopefully doing well. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. Hopefully it's a tolerable Monday for y'all. Oh man. I don't know. For me, it's I've been tired lately. Might be the change in my prescription or something like that, but overall, unfortunately, I also missed going to the gym again today. This might just be one of those weeks where I'm like, no, not this week. I don't know. Something about recently where I'm just like, cool, I'm exhausted. So I'm trying to listen to my body a little bit and give it a little bit of rest that it needs. And you can always tell that there's just a little bit of a difference. You know what I mean? Between like, I don't want to do anything, and you're just not feeling up to it, versus just like, my body says no. I got some water, ate some food, and honestly excited to get working on this game again. Also this evening, I plan on, since I discussed this yesterday, but if you weren't at, if you haven't seen that stream, I finished the thumbnail for Dredge, so I plan on uploading that onto the VOD channel. And then once the final video of Dredge comes out, then I'm going to move forward with making shorts and or a highlight video for that. So that should be fun. That'll be the first for the channel. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. Other than that, on my radar, let's see, let me check what else is going on today. Release the Dredge VODs with new thumbnail, make shorts and thumbnail, and work on thumbnails, and then just game design. That's all that we have on our schedule. Hopefully by the end of this stream, we'll finish this game design document for Last Call, and we'll have a decision as far as what engine we want to utilize that kind of allow us to make the game we want to make. And then from there, I think it's literally just get started. I think it's actually just that, where we like learn to code a little better. I do have some experience with coding, not a lot of experience, but some that is now like years old. So it is essentially, I wouldn't say fresh, brand new, but very much of like, oh no, it's like riding a bike. It's like, no. It's like I attempted to ride a bike and then I stopped and then I went back to trying to ride a bike. So you remember a little bit, but not really. Well, yeah, hopefully all of you are doing well. I like to kind of spend at least the first like 10-15 minutes of streams just kind of catching up with people and, you know, getting a good vibe check of all the things y'all been up to. But yeah, trying to think of what else on my end. I recently got some strawberry plants from my mom yesterday, so I have that currently on the windowsill. They were desperately thirsty, so hopefully the water I gave them yesterday was enough to kind of pick them back up. But I also got new pot and soil for my peace lily because they've kind of exploded a bit as far as growth. So I was like, oh, it seems a little cramped, so I'll put it into this bigger pot, and then proceeded to like grow 3 times as big in like a couple months. So it really liked what I was doing, and so it's kind of reached capacity again. So now I need to do it again. But yeah, it's one of the I mean, I like taking care of plants. I really do love plants. I love like green and nature. Nature to an extent. I'm one of those people that if I could have the perfect combination of nature and technology, I would be so happy. So it's like, oh yeah, no, I love trees, I love animals, and then it's like, oh, no, but I hate ticks and mosquitoes. Or like, but of course, most people hate mosquitoes and ticks, but it's like, oh, I love nature until it bothers you. I mean, I grew up as a Cub Scout, so like going camping, I loved it. I loved going camping, but that's also not everyone's experience with it, right? I'm the kind of guy who would bring a Switch to a camping trip. Not because I don't want to be in nature, but because I love both. I love technology and I love nature so much that it's just like, can I have both? Can I have high-speed internet in a wooden cabin in the woods? Please and thank you. Alright. Well, for those that are joining for the first time, the game that we are going to be, I was going to say attempt to make. No, we're going to make it. We are going to make this game. Hopefully within 3 months. That's the time span I'm giving myself, is that I make a small horror game by myself in the span of 3 months. Which in reality is closer to probably what I need to plan for is like 2 months. Because people are really bad at determining how long something's going to take, because we don't plan for things to go wrong. And statistically, we're off about like 30%. So I like to imbue 30% as a kind of like a just in case. And in this case, from 2 months to 3 months, that's 50%. Because this is gonna be something brand spanking new, and I'm gonna run into issues that I've never came across before, and I'm gonna be utilizing tools I'm not familiar with. So even 50% is like, it's probably gonna be a lot more than that. Excuse me. But this game, The Last Call, is a horror game where you are a 911 operator, or not even a 911 operator, I'll say like an emergency response operator, right? And you are working in a small town, and as the night moves on, these monsters are attacking the town and are able to mimic their voices and try to get you to send emergency personnel to their location to then take them out. And it's a slow dread. Hey, Natalie, how are you doing? Not much. Yourself? How are you doing this fine Monday? Hopefully well. Just talking about this game design document that we're working on for Last Call, a game that I'm starting on making. But yeah, it's gonna be a horror game about emergency officers. The town slowly spirals into you being the last one alive, and you try to prevent it for as long as possible. Should be fun. It's gonna be certainly fun making. Hopefully fun playing. I'm glad you're doing well. Oh, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Hopefully today we'll be finishing up this. Oh, of course. That is no problem. I always like to ask people how they're doing, you know? But hopefully we'll finish this this game document today. Decide what engine we're going to be utilizing, and then depending how fast that goes, we might be able to actually get started a little bit today. Should be fun. Let's see. For inspiration, we were discussing. We discussed a couple games called 911 Operator and 112 Operator, which seem to be like the only two emergency operator like sims that I could find. And so I did a little bit of research as far as like how they go about that. Not gonna lie, I was like, no. I don't wanna do what they've been doing. So I think we're gonna have to start a little bit fresh. But the other ones that I didn't mention before is that a lot of the analog horror. Oh, thank you. It is the Paleomancer's Dodo, and I drew it myself. I try to do as much as I can, artistic wise, on my own, because I want to kind of develop that skill further. It's I will either refer to her as Mama Dodo or just Dodo. But I've been I spend a lot of time, especially a good portion of my streams are about like developing skills and wanting to improve yourself. So for me, art has always been one of those things where like I've wanted to grow in. And, you know, I like grew up as a kid as being like talented and artistic, and then I just kind of stopped because of life, unfortunately. No, thank you. I appreciate that compliment. I am by far a pro artist. I am just, you know, I just try my best. But yeah, no, I'm all about, you know, trying to improve yourself. And for me, I mean, I think I did a good job with Mama Dodo as well, but a lot of my drawings are not nearly this good. I think the Mama Dodo took me, I want to say like 3 or 4 days, something like that. It took a long time. But it takes a long time when you're not used to it, when you're trying to like, when you're trying to work on that. It takes so long. And then you're just like, watch a professional artist and they're like, oh, they did what I did in like 3 hours. But yeah, no, it's I have a handful of streams that I also was like doing some like art practice, and I want to get good enough where I can work on my VTuber model. But I'm just not quite at that level. But I had to kind of rearrange my priorities a bit because I wanted, like, one of the big reasons why I wanted to start streaming is so that I interact with the community as I work on my projects. And I was like, well, I'm not working on a project, I'm working on my models. So that's just kind of like put aside for now. But eventually I'll also work on a VTuber model where I make the actual like Paleomancer. And then of course Mama Dodo will still be very much part of that design. But I very much appreciate the compliment. Nothing like that to get my ego super big at the start of the week. So I appreciate that, Natalie. Convert the Dodo into a VTuber model. You know, it would be a good idea to get some practice rigging before I go full hog into like a human like thing. Maybe. I honestly didn't even consider it, of just having the Dodo be the VTuber model. Or at least be my first VTuber model. You know? Okay. I'll keep... You know what? I'm gonna keep that in mind. I'm gonna... Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write that down. Just so that I know in the future. So, rig Mama Dodo as a VTuber model. Potentially. I wonder how I would do the beak, right? Because the face is easier, at least from the research that I've done for VTuber rigging and how that works, is that you kind of like morph the 2D image to make it look like a 3D image. But that's a lot more difficult when you have a giant beak. But that could be a fun little challenge. Yeah. Yeah. I'll look into that. Good idea. Because the current PNG Mama Dodo was always like a temporary thing. It was like, I want to start streaming. I want to put something down because it's going to take way too long to get everything that I want done. So this was like a short stop. But I love how it turned out. But to just then move ahead where it's like, well, it's good enough that maybe rigging this model would be perfect. So, yeah. No. Maybe we can... I'll definitely put this on the list and then see if maybe we could fit working on rigging this model in the future. I think that would be pretty fun. Learning how to go about doing that. All right. What was I saying? Inspiration, right. So a lot of the inspiration for this game was also analog horror, actually. So a lot of the what should we call it? So I mean, it's really, apparently it came out like, let's see here. Analog horror. So it have originated online from the late 2000s and 2010s. I didn't realize it went out that early, because I knew, especially the recent ones, they were the time in which it was supposed to be in the game around then. But I didn't realize that it started around then as well. Analog horror is influenced by found footage as The Ring, Blair Witch Project. I definitely see a lot of Blair Witch Projects, analog horror kind of stuff. Local 58, Gemini Home Entertainment was good. Gemini Home Entertainment was very fun. Analog horror to follow. Walton Files, Mandela Catalog is classic. Do it, then you can hire some artists to make one for you. That's true. That's true. I can always hire somebody. I am very much on that philosophy where it's a very almost toxic mentality. I'm aware of it, where I have the urge that if I can't do it myself, I want to learn how to do it. And then hiring other people is a matter of time, not necessarily skill. Because I love developing myself in that way. Whereas saving time, I'm like, yeah, sure, I could definitely do that. But that is very true. Like, I can always hire somebody to kind of like do it for me. And there's so many talented people out there, like much more talented than I am. And that would save a lot of time. But I want to, at the very least, try to push myself to meet the aspirations that I have for myself before I immediately go like, okay, time to hire someone else. But you do have a very good point. The Walton Files, no. So there's also, Smile Tapes was a recent one. So the Mandela Catalog actually really did put a lot of inspiration on this game because it is about doppelgangers called alternates who coerce the victims to, you know, unalive themselves, and then it kind of goes a little bit heavy into the like Christian religion, which I don't think I will go in that direction. Last time we talked about the story a little bit of what we want to go into, but then we got pretty into the monsters and how they behave in the game. And they're more or less, they kind of like have 3 stages. They're monsters that have always existed alongside people, but you know, as the population of people exploded, and as we kind of started destroying more and more of our environment, they became a lot more aggressive. So they stalk, or they observe their prey to fully understand their behavior and be able to mimic the sounds that they make and behaviors that they make. Then they ambush them, you know, kill them, and then utilize that knowledge that they gathered to then try to like get more people to go to where they are, thus ambushing and continuing the chain, until finally there's like what they would deem as like the last person. So like the last one is always left alive, in which the monster will then repeat the cycle with the last person who visited that location. And then these things are the things that are like attacking the town. So Mandela Catalog was inspiration with the mimicry, with the doppelgangers influence. Smile Tapes, I like the Smile Tapes, but I don't think they're necessarily an inspiration for this game. Backrooms is always fun. Skinamarink is considered analog horror? Do you know artists that can make one? Not personally, no. I think I've been contacted with somebody who can help make, hold on, it was like badges and stuff and like logos. I've been contacted by one of them before, but I'm hoping to at least go about trying to do those by myself, see how the quality ends up being with that, and then if I'm not satisfied with it, then, you know, I'll hire accordingly. Especially depending if I feel like I'm just burning myself out, or I'm not allowing myself enough time. I didn't realize Skinamarink were considered analog horror. I guess it would, because it's from the viewpoint of like different, I wouldn't say cameras, but like, yeah, essentially cameras throughout the house as the movie progressed. Which, if you haven't seen Skinamarink, I do recommend it, but it is very much like a hit or miss. Like, either it's one of the most terrifying things that you've seen in a long time, or it's absolutely boring. Oh, I did not know that, Natalie. That's awesome. I love the hustle. If you want, you can Here, I'll give you a link to my Discord. If you want, you can shoot me a message. And then that way, if I do find that I am in need, you can send it. Let me see. Here, I'll shoot you an invite to the I'll shoot you the invite to the Discord, and then you can just send me like a message. But yeah, totally respect the hustle. And where are we doing? Where is? There we are. But yeah, no, Skinamarink is one of those that's either hit or miss. And for me, it was so scary because it successfully put me into the mindset of like being a kid again, and being like having to like go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and it's dark and you don't want to turn on the lights because you'll get your parents will be mad, and like that sense of dread. It's like that movie perfectly put me into that headspace. So it was very successful against me. And I was like, I haven't seen a horror movie that did that to me in a long time. But if it's not successful in doing that, then like it's just a boring movie for you. But yeah, I guess like Marink would technically count. But inspirations for analog horror: Gemini Home Entertainment, Mandela Catalog, and let's see here. I feel like there was one other one. Maybe Walton Files? No, Walton Files is a little more FNAF. Monument Mythos. I feel like there's one that I'm just missing. Midwest Angelica, maybe? Called Home. Discovered a malicious extraterrestrial being, codenamed AZ001. No, I feel like there's one more. There's one more on here that's like recently started popping off that I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, that's fine. Inspiration is there. We like analog horror. Analog horror is kind of be applied to it, which is why I kind of want the graphics to be a little bit more like early 2000s kind of ish, where not necessarily like pixelated, like super pixelated or anything like that, but very much just not like they're running on the most recent PCs and screens and like 4K monitor in the game. Like I don't want that. I want like almost white brick Windows 97 kind of feel to it, and then they'll be able to send like emergency vehicles on that screen. But I don't know. And there you are. I accepted it. You're all good. Natalia. Sorry if I was getting your name wrong this whole time. No problem. Design peers. You're good to go. And I'll look at the messages once I'm like off stream. Because if I keep on going back and forth, then you know there's gonna be a lot of dead air. Let's see. For design pillars, fulfilling the desire to help, feeling specifically emotion. Yeah, it's just Well, the design pillars use 3 words or phrases to convey the feeling or emotion you want the players to experience. Right. So we want to fulfill the desire to help. Like you go in, and most people have the desire to want to help other people, which is why it's like the simulator. It's like, oh, it's a little bit of high stress. It's a little bit of, but you're like in the end you're helping people. And then the feeling of confusion of what is happening and the desire to figure out the cause. So there's like a feeling of mystery. There's a feeling of like, oh, like there's patterns to figure out, right? Which is always fun. Almost like I wouldn't say puzzle, but you know, that kind of stuff. And then anxiety with reduction of resources and an increase of stress in a situation that becomes more insidious. Kind of overwhelming sense of dread and powerlessness. Is it powerlessness? I guess so. Strategy, that's what I was looking for. I'm kind of rereading what we wrote before just to see if we want to add anything more to it. The story. A returning emergency operator comes back to work after an accident at an emergency communication facility in a small town. The shift begins in the evening and progresses in difficulty throughout the night. After a brief expedited training, they are thrown into answering emergency calls and sending the appropriate emergency vehicles. As calls come in, there are some where sending emergency vehicles is not needed. However, in this particular night, I put imposters, but I kind of liked maybe doppelgangers would be better instead of imposters. I kind of like doppelgangers when I read the Mandela. What is the technical definition of doppelganger? Sometimes spelled doppelganger is a biologically unrelated look-alike or double of a living person. No, like we'll stick with imposters. There are imposters who are invading the homes and pretending to need help to attack/kill the emergency responders. Imposters will continue to spread across the town, and the operator will need to make the correct decisions in saving as many people as they can while reducing the spread of imposters as much as possible. As the night goes on, other operators will get calls from their own residents or loved ones and will have to leave to go back and would not return. However, no matter how good the decisions that were made, eventually all the town will be taking over until the operator is the last one left with the last call ringing. And I haven't decided as far as what I want that last call to entail. But you always want to make an ending feel good in a game. You want to be able to put it down and be like, wow, that was kind of cool. Is this one going to be one of those games where people are going to play it for hours? Probably not. First of all, if I was going to design that kind of game, I wouldn't want to try to make it within 3 months. It would have to have some kind of either gotcha, randomness, or you know, all the little dopamine blips in the brain. But that's not the way we're going to go about this. Mechanics, types of different calls. We have sending support of conflict resolution, health emergency, and fire containment. We have don't send support, considered not an emergency, so no one is sent. This could be I feel like this is obvious. So examples of don't sending support would be complaints. What else would be not send support? Wrong numbers. And butt dials. I kind of see, this is where the magic kind of comes in a little bit, right? Because there are ones that it's like you don't send support to it. Someone saying, "Hello, is this? I'd like a a triple double cheese with pepperoni and meat lovers, and they're super high. And like, but this is a horror game where you have to find patterns. So you will have, normally in a game like that of the other operators, if it's a wrong number, or if it's like the don't send support kind, yeah, Natalia, I'm in the process of designing a game at the moment. A little horror game of being an emergency operator. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to make it within 3 months. That's the goal. That's the attempted goal. I'll be working on this 3 days a week on stream, and we'll see how it goes. And you're always welcome to join the stream. I'm usually on 2 to 6 Eastern every day except Saturday. However, I admit sometimes I'm a little late. But I usually post on my Discord as far as when I go live as well. And sometimes I also do like art streams too, and you're more than welcome to join those and just vibe and practice. A lot of my at least the streams for Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, they're streams for like developing skills, where it's like these are the moments where if you need an excuse to work on something, this is your excuse. Just do whatever it is that you want to improve on, and we can do that together. Because as I mentioned before, I am by far not a professional artist. But I think it's so much more fun to develop yourself with other people who are also just trying to get better at what they're doing. I think there's a certain magic in that. And I currently that developing myself is making this game, where I'm going to learn how to code properly, how to make game assets properly, how to all right, thank you for joining me. You have a good one. All right, let's see. Yeah, don't send support. So the other from what I've seen from looking at the other operator simulators, right, is we have, or it's like it'll be like a hidden kind of don't send support, where it's just like it sounds like they're well, oh, you know what? All right, I'll be sure to update my socials accordingly. Thanks, Natalia. I appreciate it. Pro artist and a game dev. Oh. You know what? I'll truly believe that when I fully release. When I release the game, when it is released and finished and done, I'll accept that title. I'll do game dev apprentice, intern, unpaid intern. I am an unpaid pro artist or game dev intern. Oh gosh, that's funny. You have a wonderful one, Natalia. Let's see. So, back to the don't send support. We will, because most of those operator games, they'll kind of be like, oh, it seems like you wouldn't send it, but it turns out that they're trying to cover the fact that they're in an abusive location, right? They'll kind of like cover the fact that like something is wrong and they can't say it. They're like at gunpoint. Like they would make stuff up, right? which is kind of what we're doing here, except a little bit different in the aspect of like, okay, let's use the example of don't send support. So don't send support, and then will be utilized for harder to notice imposter situations. And by that, so it's like for complaints, it would be loud noise equals someone being attacked, or wrong numbers could be the imposter mimicking the wrong type of conversation. And then butt dials, someone is actively being attacked but not directly next to the phone, right? So just because it's a don't send support situation does not mean that is not an imposter situation that the player needs to pay attention to, right? And then we have the actual imposters. If the wrong emergency vehicles are utilized, they will be lost. That's kind of the overall mechanic, is that you have a certain amount of resources that you can utilize in the game. So arbitrarily, it's like 6 emergency vehicles, 6 ambulances, 6 police cars, and 3 fire trucks, right? Which is insane for a small town in my mind. I think the most fire trucks in a small town is like 2, maybe. But this is like an arbitrary number, right? We would have to like skew that depending how it feels. And if you send it over, if you send the right people to the right locations, the game just kind of is just that, right? It's just recognizing what to send where, and that's about it. But in this game, if you make a mistake and you send the right people but don't realize that it's an imposter situation, and you don't send the right people to handle the imposter situation, you lose all those vehicles. The people who drive them, they're gone. Your resources are now more limited than ever, right? The only ones capable of dealing with imposters are police. However, a place deemed in imposter control will take all future vehicles be lost if sent. I don't remember what that means. However, a place deemed in imposter control will make all future vehicles be lost if sent. Oh, right. This is with the idea that, yeah, let's do this. Let's separate this out. Yeah. To prevent the spread of imposters, a police vehicle must be sent during the small window of imposters attempting to take over the location. AKA, if an imposter's already there and has already done what imposters do, sending in a police after the fact is they'll just get ambushed and killed. It is only through the small window of the house being taken over is it that the police can then appropriately be like, okay, the imposter hasn't had enough time to like ready an ambush, it's still in the middle of attack. You send the police vehicle, they're able to take out the imposter, or at least make it so they run away, and that house is saved. However, a place deemed in imposter control, aka you are able to prevent it, will make it so that anybody who sends stuff over there will just die. So I'm thinking, due to the violent nature of imposters. Let's do this. Let's have this replace this one. This because they're saying the same thing but slightly different. Due to the violent nature of imposters, at least an additional police vehicle will be necessary to fight them off. So there are situations where you're going to need more police officers to handle the situation. And same with like everything else, where it's like you need a minimum of this. And then it's like, cool, if it's an imposter situation, you need an additional police vehicle on top of that. And I put an asterisk there because I'm not 100% sure if making it automatically lost is the way to go about it. We'll see. So then we have like some cues, right? The cues are like things happening in the background, like a pet disturbance, like the voice of the imposter will have 3 different kind of like cues you'll have that are more difficult to tell depending on the like what is considered, in my mind, different difficulty. So vocal variation, in other words, if it starts talking like a robot or like its tonal shifts down, pretty easy to be like, yep, that's not a human. And then the medium one is like sentence scrambling, where the structure or use of words are scrambled, where like they're saying things that doesn't quite make sense, where they can speak like a person, but they don't fully understand how to put those words together that would make sense. And then you have faulty reasoning, which is the sentence doesn't make sense in context, and that's the hard one. So, like, I need to go outside and walk my cat is a structurally sound sentence, but you don't walk your cats. I mean, some people might, but like that's still weird, right? And or like we're gonna head over to the pool and I'm gonna get a tan, and it's in the middle of the night. It's stuff like that where the imposter didn't quite they didn't quite understand the context of the sentence to be able to utilize it appropriately, right? The mechanics, we also need to go into vehicles. So for police, the main purpose is to reduce the loss of life. You would send police to make sure that no one, again, this is a very finite situation. I wish this was the case in reality, but the purpose of police, at least in this game, is to reduce the loss of life. Utilize to subdue violent situations and or kind of like cool things off a bit, right? The only force able to counter the main antagonist, aka imposters. I'm gonna go ahead and imposters. Ambulance is to keep people alive, utilized to help bring injured people to hospitals, and I'm not 100% sure about this one, but I like the idea because you need to think of situations of when they're supposed to do it and what happens if it's not done correctly. Like what happens if you mess up in an imposter situation. So in most cases, I think sending the wrong vehicle to the wrong place and it's not an imposter situation is just a reduction in resources. It's literally just you don't have access to those people for a while as they handle the situation, right? And for ambulance in this case, where it's like if you send an ambulance to a place that no one is hurt at, like nothing bad happens. Like it's not bad that they're there. It's just that they're not available to then be sent to someone else who would need it. And I feel like that in itself, especially when a fight against time, where it's like it is a losing battle, and you need these resources, sending the wrong thing to the wrong vehicle to the wrong place is detrimental in that you now lose a different situation because you made that mistake, right? But that's why imposters make this interesting. So what happens if you send a police to a imposter situation? Assuming that you didn't recognize that it was an imposter situation. For police, that's exactly what you should be doing. If it's an imposter situation, so what my gut tells me for what people will do, realizing that you need police for a imposter situation, is that they will then just send another police car to every problem that calls for that would be deemed. So they just throw in an extra, no matter what, right? But we want to design it in a way that if they do that, then they're not going to have enough to throw around. Like, you don't, as many, even though you have the resources necessary that you feel like you have a lot. Hey, how are you doing? Said Poily? How do I pronounce your name? You're coming for me. Poily? Poily? Said Poily. Am I getting that right? Okay. Excellent. How you doing, Said Poily? You're coming for me. How you doing, Lex? Glad you joined the stream. Going over some going over the overview for the game design document for game I'm making. Making sure I haven't missed anything. I did? Well, I appreciate you joining, Lex. I also woke up later. Oh, thank you for the raid. Very much obliged. Hello, hello, welcome. I mean, it depends on your definition of alive, you know? I am, you know, a Paleomancer did raise me back up, but you're from my country. All right. Excellent. Well, welcome. You know, I'm a little purple. You know, you can kind of see the bones a bit. You're an expat, Dodo. What happened to my feathers? I mean, I don't currently have flesh, so I feel like feathers count as part of that. So it's more aura, miasma, maybe a better term for it. You could think of it as kind of like Jello adjacent. And I will take my voice being very Dodo as a compliment. The unfeathered Dodo. Jello Dodo. Essentially, yeah. Well, welcome. I'm currently in the process of working on my small horror indie game. Literally just started working on it last week. I am making a horror emergency responder game. Kind of inspired by like 911 operator mixed with like Mandela catalog kind of vibes, where you are responding to emergency calls. But as you made a Dodo themed game. That is awesome. What is the name of the game? Yeah, I love the Mandela Cut. I'm loving all the analog horrors, but like this is very much like you're trying to prevent the spread of these imposters that are going around, taking over like people's houses, killing them, and then impersonating them to then try to get the emergency vehicles to come to their location and then kill them off until eventually Dodo dodge. I gotta look that up. 1 second. Eventually the main character is going to be the last one left. So it's kind of like a fight against a losing battle. Oh, thank you for the follow. It's not out yet. Oh, I literally Googled it. I was like, bro, there's no way. I have to play that game on stream. There's no way. Oh, thank you. I work on this game Monday, Wednesday, Friday around this time, 2 to 6 p.m. And then Tuesday, Thursdays, we play like other games. Like currently we're finishing Dredge. And then after that, I kind of want to try out Animal Well. That seems like a really fun game. But eventually I do plan on playing like modded Inscription. Because that I haven't played Inscription modded before. And they go crazy. They go super nutty with the mods. I appreciate the follows. But the goal is to have this game released in 3 months. Which is a lot shorter. Which is both too long and too short of a period of time. So I'm gonna keep going at it. All right. It is a tight schedule, but like this game isn't gonna be a whole lot. It's not gonna be huge. It's gonna be just kind of like a small thing. We got to make sure everything feels good as far as playing it. Have like the art, because for the most part the player is going to be sending vehicles and receiving calls on like a computer screen, so it's not going to be very like artistically taxing. It's not going to be very like coding taxing, and I think I can do it. Actually, I'm trying to figure that out today. Like once I finish out the game design document that I kind of covered everything, as far as it's probably either going to be Godot or Unity. I don't think I need to do Unreal. I don't think I need the... Well, thank you. The quotations of the right way. But yeah, I'm thinking either of those. Kaboom JS? What is Kaboom JS? I haven't actually heard that one. JS. Canvas, Kaboom, in it. Interesting. It's a JavaScript game programming library that helps you make games fast and fun. Oh. Click Team. What is that one? Click Team. Software creating video games. Oh. It's a French software development company. Space Avenger, Five Nights. Oh, it made... Wait. Click Team... Five Nights at Freddy's was built off a Click Team? That... I did not know that. I might have to check that out. Not gonna lie. I'm not, like... The graphics that I have that I'm anticipating is, like... I'm not gonna say it's Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's not too far off as far as the demand of it all. And it's pretty much just gonna be a clicking game. You're not gonna be moving. You're not gonna be going around, which also makes it a lot easier to make. Okay, that's on my radar. Yeah. Okay. You know what? Let's add another after sound. Let's do game engine. We have the classic Unity. We have Godot. Then we have Kaboom JS as an option, and then Click Team. Interesting, because Click Team might work, especially if it's designed just for more of like clicking-oriented kind of games. That might work. Thank you for the suggestions. That would be that, and that's why I like having this conversation now in the beginning, before I've gotten started on anything, because that's really what not kills, but like adds more time to the development process. Is the fact of like, once you know exactly what you're moving forward with, then just do that. Then there's no going backwards, starting over again, wasting like a month's worth of work. Yeah, so no, that's good. I'm gonna check all these out actually today once we're done going over this game design document. But pretty much the story that I have going on so far is an emergency operator comes back to work after an accident, but then throughout the night things get worse and worse as these imposters start attacking the town and trying to trick you to send emergency vehicles to their homes, thus killing off those personnel. So then you have less resources to help other people, and it just kind of spirals. So that's like, as you're trying to fend off more and more of these things, and you make more and more mistakes, you then have to like choose between who do you save and who do you not. And it just eventually boils down into the moment where you're the last one alive, and the last call is ringing, which is why it's called Last Call. And yeah, I think it could be pretty fun. I also like the replay value of it. I don't think I'm gonna focus too hard on replay, only maybe like how long can you last. I think that's really the most that I'm gonna focus on, is like how long can you last until the game is over. And then you can kind of be like, I don't think I'll do like a leaderboard, but I think I added that as like a potential add narrative when how long the game lasted, if player could choose. Oh, leaderboard. Because I'm also trying to focus for like an MVP, right? Minimum viable product. How small do we have to make it before it's just no longer the game anymore? And then we just focus on that. So we got police vehicles that subdue violent situations and are the only way to defend against imposters. And the way that I currently have it designed, of course after playtesting we'll have to adjust accordingly, is that if you believe that it is an imposter situation where the person on the other end of the phone is not a real person, on top of the thing that is happening, you send an additional police officer. If you're wrong, then you have less police officers to send. But if you're right, then you fend off the imposters from spreading. And the kind of like artificial is the wrong word, but even doing everything right, I don't plan on the player winning the game. There is no winning. There is only living longer. And I think I'm going to make it so that, because there's no way that the main character is the only one that works in this facility. So I have to keep that in mind. And I'm planning so that the co-workers of the main character will get calls from their homes. And they're like, they kind of know what's going on and that it might be an imposter. But like, a parent getting a call from their child that someone's breaking in. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like this is one of those games that's delaying the inevitable is like, it's perfect for it. But like a parent getting a call from their child saying like someone's breaking in, they're gonna go home and defend their kid. There's no way they're not. So it's like moments like that where it's like they're probably going to die, but there's no way that they can't go. So it's, as the game progresses, more of your coworkers leave, thus you get more calls, so you have less resources to spread out until eventually you cannot cover all the bases anymore. And you start losing people left and right, and it just spirals until finally that's it. You're the only one alive, you're the only one in the building, and every home has been taken over. And as far as like the way, we also kind of went into how the monster like behaves, where it comes in like stages. So overall, the monster, as of right now, is designed is that they've always existed. I love playing with the mindset of like, these things have always been here, not like before people, but like along with people. Like the little bits that I always find creepy are where, have any of you seen the map that overlays like lost children reports and where the locations of undiscovered caverns in the United States and how they overlay? Well, thank you. Honestly, it's the fun. It's very fun. Like kind of like going in to like the game design process and being like, how do we want to go about this is so fun. Is it a cryptid? We'll say cryptid. I don't think it's gonna be anything that's necessarily super based. I don't think I'm gonna do like Skinwalker. It's definitely gonna be Skinwalker-esque. And like the map that I'm talking about is just like that feeling of like, what is there things in the caves that like take people? And when I think about predation, especially when it comes to social animals, the act of mimicking the calls for help of social animals is such just of like a natural feel for me of like, that's something that would like things would evolve with, especially if they evolved alongside of. So this monster is like, it's always was here, it was always predating on people, which is why there are like legends as far as like hearing voices that you were like familiar with in the woods that you never go to. So like Skinwalker-esque, right? And people are like, never follow the voices into the woods, things like that. But due to the huge growth of humanity, as well as the destruction of environment, you say Wendigos? Listen, I love Skinwalkers, I love Wendigos. This is definitely kind of down that area. Just, I don't really see them. I'm definitely thinking more of like Mandela Catalog-esque versus things with antlers. And trust me, I love things with antlers. All right. I'm a huge fan of antler cryptids. All right. But like before it was, you know, they probably would just live in caves, but now their food source has gotten really big and a lot, and they may not need to, there may not be enough like caves to support the growing population. So they've kind of like evolved a new hunting strategy, where in this case, where they first observe, where they kind of watch their prey to fully understand its behavior. They start mimicking the sounds and start to try to understand the language. So these are very intelligent creatures, where it's kind of like one step above parrot is the way I'm kind of thinking about it, where it's like they can mimic sounds, but they can kind of understand a little more than what normal mimicry animals are able to do. And once they observed long enough, then they ambush them, kill them, eat them, do whatever, and then from what they've learned, copy their voice to try to, and their actions to try to get other people to their location, where they will just continue to ambush over and over and over again until they deem is like the last person, where it's like the last person to arrive, then they follow that person, and then the cycle continues. So in this case, in this story, or in this game rather, the main character, as far as returning from work after an accident, the main character was the one being stalked and brought these like essentially like a quote unquote scout, right? In a social kind of group situation, like different animals would serve different like niches, I would say, So this one would be like, oh, okay, this one just followed the main character to this location, and now there's a whole small town that are just ripe for the picking. So they return to work, they start working, then the thing that followed them is now attacking everyone, until eventually they're the last person again. And then the cycle continues. They're not going to kill off the main character. They don't want that. They want the main character to lead them to more people. So they wait. And I like how that's kind of put together. So I'm fine with the story for now. The vehicles, yeah, the police being the only ones to counter the imposters, ambulances, which are utilized to bring in injured people, but I want to kind of mess with the idea that if you send the ambulance to the wrong place, it could potentially bring imposters to hospitals. Whereas, like, there's a mistake. I like when planning for things to go right, you also want to plan around when things go wrong. So when things go right for an ambulance, you save people's lives. That's the point. Like, you want to play the game so that you do the most good with what the resources you have. But, like, when things go wrong, you don't... I also want it to be interesting besides just, like, you lose all your vehicles. As of right now, if you accidentally send emergency vehicles to imposter situations without having that extra policeman, everyone dies. You lose those resources and things spiral quicker. And, like, which is interesting, but I want kind of specific situations, like ambulance bringing imposters to hospitals, and now that hospital, everyone there is going to die. Fire trucks is also interesting, and first, fire trucks are mainly utilized to help subdue fire and assist in access to hurt personnel, but in my brain, this makes sense, and I'll kind of explain my reasoning. Where would be the first to be killed, so any other vehicle at the location would not be lost. So it's almost like an extra life of, oops, I messed up. I only lost a fire truck instead of I lost a fire truck, 3 policemen, and 2 ambulance or something like that. And the reason is because usually in a situation that requires firemen to be there, they're the ones that, like, break, like, the claws of life. They're the ones breaking down the door. Like, unless you're calling in, like, the heavy duty policeman with, like, a ram, like, the firemen are the ones that get you access to locations that are difficult to go into. So if there is a, like, imposter situation, the firemen are the first ones that are going to get ambushed and killed. And if you saw this weird, lanky monster thing just completely eat and or kill one of your fellow people, you're gonna get out. You're gonna leave. You're out of there. So I want to treat fire trucks as almost like a extra precaution of, like, I'm not 100% sure if this is I was gonna say Wendigo. If this is an imposter situation. I'm going to send a fire truck just in case. Or, oh, I didn't even realize. Damn, good thing I only lost a fire truck. But you only have a certain amount of them. I'm thinking like 2 for now. Where it's just like, oh, and then if there's a fire situation, you don't have fire trucks anymore because you were all willy-nilly with your resources being like, well, I don't know, I'll just in case it. And then now people are dying for fire, or they're not getting to access to people when things go wrong. A couple of potential ones. Animal control. I don't think that one's gonna happen. I was thinking of animal control and the idea of, like, animals freaking out with the imposters coming in, and, like, they're like, oh no, my dog is freaking out, call animal control. But, like, that's not what people do. So instead I had animals freaking out as a sign of, like things to look out for calls where they're just calling for a different reason and their dog is going absolutely batshit in the background. It's like, yeah, might be an imposter situation. We might need to figure that out. And then one that is another one is an imposter hunter, where it's just a bunch of people who are like crypto head. I should not put crypto heads. I should put cryptid head. Crypto heads are different. A handful of cryptid heads that have studied the imposters before, and they kind of give the player a little more leverage as far as like knowledge of where it might go. So like it gives the player a few hints regarding usual behavior discrepancies. So it's kind of like, look, I don't want to make a game that holds people's hands, but at the same time, myself included, people are dumb. When designing games, don't assume they're going to behave in the way that you want them to behave. So, like, you kind of need to play a little bit on the side of caution as far as them not knowing, while at the same time, like making sure that they don't feel like they're being treated like they're dumb. I think that's the biggest discrepancy. Maybe. I have considered different difficulties where it's like a increase or reduction of resources, how they're a little bit more aggressive, maybe the signs, because I do have a few, I'm not sure if you were in here when I went over it, but the imposter has a couple of cues where there's like easy, medium, and hard different kinds of little hints. The easiest being vocal variation, like suddenly they sound where their tones go up and down, or their voice changes in the middle of speaking, that it's like, oh, obviously not a human, because humans don't sound like robots. And then the second hardest is sentence scrambling, where they talk, their voice is fine, but they're saying nonsense. Like the words don't make sense. They're saying words, it just doesn't actually, it's not a sentence. And then the hardest is faulty reasoning, where it doesn't make sense for the context of the situation. Like someone saying that they're going to go to the pool and sunbathe, but it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Or I'm going to go walk my cat. And you're like, I mean, some people walk their cats, but most, like, you don't usually walk your cat. So as far as increasing difficulty, it could be more lenient towards the harder things where it's more context, or maybe exactly just like AI hallucinates. But the cryptid cultist is kind of one of those things where I like the idea of them. Where are the vehicles? There you are. But it feels a bit like content creep. And like, where it's like, it doesn't feel like it would be an MVP, where it would be the minimum viable product. It feels like a good addition. And if we have time, it would feel like really good, but it feels either DLC worthy or as kind of like we have some extra time, we could put that in, where we help people a little bit by giving them a little bit of hints of like, look out for these vocal changes, or look out for weird sentences. It may not be a stroke. It may just be like, it may be one of these things just that didn't observe the person long enough. And as far as mechanically how they interact is like, after you've made the correct assumption and you defended a location, I plan for the imposters to like go away. They like kind of retreat and attack a different location, but for the most part you don't know where they go. But it would be interesting if the kind of like imposter hunter people go there and then they give you like either general direction where they went, or like one of 3 houses or something. Like they won't tell you exactly where they went, but they'll at least give you some idea that if you got another call in a general place that they say they might have gone to, you'll be a little bit more on alert than normal. So I like that. But For now, it's just the police, ambulance, fire trucks. Well, thank you. I made the game so that it feels like it would be fun to watch. If I feel like it would be fun to play, and like the key thing would be it would be fun to play after watching. Because I that's why I like the idea of like trying to last as long as possible, where it's like you watch someone play it and you're like, I bet I can do better. So then you get it yourself. And like, I don't want like a lot of cheap jump scares. Like maybe there might be some like little glitches here and there on the screen maybe, or like the calls can be a little bit more creepy here and there. I'll scream earlier. But like I want a less feeling of terror and a more feeling of dread, if that makes any sense to y'all. Where it's like this feeling of you're trying your best, but you just can't stop it from happening. And that's a certain special kind to me, where it's especially if I can manage to do it well, of just like, okay, let's just try to save as many people as possible. And one of the things that I wanted to potentially add is have the narrative of the last call change depending how well you did. Because I love how the game, especially in a game like this, or horror games in general, they kind of just like they end on a bad note, and they just let you feel just kind of shitty. And I don't want that. I don't want people's efforts to feel like they were wasted. If you're going to spend this whole time trying to save people when against all odds, I feel like you should be at least rewarded of being recognized for your efforts. Because otherwise it's kind of like, besides pride, there really isn't a whole lot else why you would do it. No, honestly, Titanfall 2 has been a game that I should have played in the past. I never played Titanfall 2, but I've always wanted to. I just never did. But it's in the same group. Okay, so I'm about to, unfortunately, there's a couple of games that I played. There's on discount. Team Fortress 2 is on discount for like $4. Oh, I didn't know that. Or Titanfall 2, sorry. We were just talking about Titanfall. My bad. Okay, maybe. If it's really like $4, there's really no reason why not to get it. Anyway, no. So I'll add it to my list of games that I should have played a long time ago that I haven't played. Right next to Borderlands, right next to Fallout New Vegas, right next to so like all these awesome games came out right around the same time where I was in college, and I was like, I do not have the mental energy to be able to go hard in those games and also make sure I don't fail. So, it's on my list. But maybe once we've kind of hit a wall as far as like horror adjacent, like I will still play horror games here and there, but like I'll also play a lot of games that are like Dredge and Inscription and things of that nature, where they're kind of like horror adjacent. They just kind of have the vibe, but they're not horror games, so once we get there's only a certain amount of those, so after that I don't see why not also digging into that bin of just being like, let's give it a shot. Because Titanfall, especially, like the way the movement in that game, I watched videos of how like that movement and how complex that movement in that game is, just chef's kiss. And when designing games, you want to make movement fun. So I was using that of like, okay, how do I make movement fun with another game that I was potentially going to make? But yeah, I'll add that to my bin. But it's also good to know, I didn't realize they had like a sense of dread in Titanfall 2 too. That's good on them. I'm a huge fan of like juxtaposition. There's something out there coming for you. Yeah, like the It Follows. I don't know if you all ever saw that movie, but It Follows, so good. But it has that dread of for those who haven't seen the movie, it is a thing that unfortunately they made it weird. It passes on by having sex with someone, but the point is like there is a thing that can look like anyone, and it is always trying to get to you at all times. It's the snail problem. If you all have heard that one, where it's like if you get $1 million, but there's a snail trying to get you, and if it gets you, you die. It's like that, but there's a movie, and it's faster than a snail. It's a person. So they're looking around all the time, and they're like in a movie theater, they're looking around, and they just try to see if a person like stands out, and it's only the person that is infected can see the person. So they're just looking around and they just see like an odd person walking, they'll be like, hey, do you see that person over there? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, okay, we're fine. It's only when they don't. So as the movie goes on, it's like sometimes it's an old lady, sometimes it's a giant man, and it like there's one funny scene where it's just the guy's on the roof of the house. But once it gets to you, you die in a really gruesome, horrible way, and then it goes back to the person who passed it to you. So even if you pass it on, you're never truly like done with it, because if they get taken out, they come for you. So you just have this long stream of things. I think it's akin to like STIs, like it's a movie about that, but it's very well done. But that's that kind of feeling where it's like there's something coming after you, there's something always following you. And for this game, it's like it does have a bit of that, but it doesn't quite have that oomph where it's like if it gets you, you're done. Because these, maybe I can give the impression that they will, but I know they never will. But the player doesn't know that they will. We might be able to do that. I also thought of endings. Actually, is there a section for endings yet? No, let's add that. Let's talk about that. So I'm thinking there's two potential endings in this hypothetical situation, right? We have the tried everything ending. This ending is the player did their best to hold back the imposters, but is the last one alive. And then there's a second one, because there's a second way of playing the game. I don't know if you guys can kind of like clock in on it, but technically I'm not forcing the player to send emergency personnel. They don't have to send anything. So I feel like that, like, oh, okay, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to make it so that no one sends out anywhere. I will never run out of resources, and I'll be good to go. So then there's the turtle ending, right? I'm keeping my resources, there's nothing you can do. I like the idea of you, like the player ignoring the calls. They're being selfish. They're like, we're gonna bunker down here, right? And I think that should have its own version of consequences, where suddenly you hear gunshots outside. You hear like people dying near you, realizing that just because all the resources are around you doesn't mean that they weren't going to eventually come for you. Yeah. Well, I mean, overwhelmed in the sense of like, well, your resources aren't going down because you're not sending anything out. So how would you lose? And I think it will be that like the people in the houses would eventually all die much quicker because you're not there defending them. and then they all come and attack the emergency location until the player is the last one. But that one's a lot more real, in the sense of you hear the gunshots, you hear people screaming, you hear it's happening next to you, and you're watching the resources blip off even though you didn't send them anywhere. Well, that's the thing. As far as the timetable of this game, I was anticipating this going to be a third shift. This was going to be this was a 12-hour night shift. This was 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I didn't want this to be a multiple day thing, because I feel like once you include multiple different kinds of days, you get into a little more complications as far as like narratively, does it make sense that these people are still in this town, right? Because I want to run, yeah, because like when it comes to making it make sense, it's so easy. Yeah, exactly. It's like, why didn't you call the army? It's like, it has to be a short enough time, it has to be long enough that people feel like it's a losing battle of time, even if they last a really long time at it. But if I have some kind of passage of time, there's a win con now. There's a last through the night situation, which I don't want. And like, horror movies fail this all the time, and I know people who like horror run into this problem a lot, where it's like the people they're watching, they're like, why are you so dumb? It's like, why don't you leave? Why do you not have a weapon? Like, why? It's like, the answer is so that it can move forward in the direction that the person who wrote it or the person who's directing it wants it to go. But like, realistically, it makes no sense. So you need to find a good balance between moving in the direction that you want to go, while at the same time not make the people just so brain dead stupid that you get aggravated of, why don't you just do the normal thing? And in this case, that's why I kind of decided to, like, I want it to be like one night. People are on edge, people don't know what's going on, like, people are panicking a bit, but they're not making super like dumb decisions, which is why it's like when the coworkers leave because they want to check on their kid, that makes sense to me. Like, that makes sense that they're still making a stupid decision, but the reason they're doing it isn't stupid. And I think that's kind of like a key difference there. It's like, why you do it, if the why is stupid, then that feels irritating. But if the why makes sense, then you can kind of explain the what. Like, it's much more excusable, where it's just like, okay, like I can see that. So we want to create the environment to allow that tightrope to walk on. We're probably gonna miss it for like a few things. There's no way this game isn't gonna go forward with at least some level of frustrations, but we're gonna at least try our best, narratively at the very least, to like make it so that these people are just like people. They're not just tools to push the narrative forward. Yeah, the turtle one, much quicker. They come and attack the emergency location until the player is the last one. The player hears the people trying to fight back, but are overwhelmed. And the reason I kind of like this ending is because the difference between the tried everything and the turtle ending, I want the turtle ending to be the bad ending, quote unquote bad ending. Both endings you pretty much are done. But the turtle ending, they're there. These things are right next to you because they attack you in your location. But I don't want to show these things. I don't want to show what this thing looks like. Because I'm sure y'all have heard the rule at some degree, where once you show the monster, that's kind of it. There's very unique situations where showing the monster actually amplified the fear in some way, shape, or form. Usually as soon as you show, that's it, you're done. And I like the maybe I might do shadows. I would much rather do, yeah, the fearing the unknown. Once we put a face, once we put a name, that's how we cope with how to handle things, right? That's how we deal with things that we are afraid of, is that we give those two things. And I mean, we already are giving them imposters, like the name here. I'm not 100% sure that I will have that word be in the game. I don't think I will have them refer to these creatures as imposters. I'm not necessarily sure how I would have them refer to them, depending on how much foresight and understanding of the situation that they have. I know that they know that there's something wrong. I know that they know they're dealing with things that they don't quite understand. And I do want them to know that, like, mistakes mean that people die. And that they lose people. But I don't know if they will be at a point where they actually give this a name. Like, if there's enough conversation happening, then I will have to give them a name. But for the most part, like, it's very much going to be like everything's fine, and then slowly things get more and more unfine as the people around the main character start freaking out a little more and more. And if we get it far enough, we might be like, oh, we'll have them react to, like, when things go wrong. And I made the decision early on that I don't think I'm going to have, even though you do have coworkers who are also doing the same thing, I'm not going to have any of the success or failures be dependent on their coworkers. It's going to be just the player. Because that would be also I can see that being frustrating, of like AI controlled decisions and you start losing resources because someone else made that decision. And there's a difference in horror between powerlessness and literally having no control. It's a bit of a fine line, but it's frustrating when you get punished for something that you had no ability of controlling, regardless if it's a horror game or not. That's not the feeling that I want to instill. I want a feeling of dread and powerlessness, not I might as well not even play the game. You know? But so for the turtle, I'm thinking that here's the people trying to fight back but are overwhelmed. I want the player to hear the imposters nearby. Like they hear the breathing, they hear them walking closer, but the player can't turn around. So another reason why why the player got into an accident is, in my mind, the player is in a wheelchair and needs to be pushed around, which is why you can't just get up and leave. Because that was another thing. I needed to explain away why this player just doesn't go. just leave the down. Just like, things are going bad. Just leave. Just go. And I wanted it where it's just like, well, what if, like, the person that helped the player get inside and, like, you know, sit in front of a computer, what if they went home and then they were the first victim, right? You can kind of like play with that a little bit, narratively speaking. But essentially you can't move, you can't go anywhere without someone else pushing you until you're the last one, and then you're the last one, so no one can push you, no one can get you out of there. Granted, being in a wheelchair doesn't mean you can't move yourself, so I guess it would have to be a situation where you're essentially non-movable. Or I don't know, we would have to kind of figure out the details of that, but kind of situation where it's like FNAF, where it's like, you don't leave that room, you don't leave this situation, you don't leave the seat, and you just click and do whatever it is you're going to do. And then you just see on the corners of the screen of what's happening as far as your, like, coworkers, as far as coworkers getting up and then them saying they need to leave. station isn't wheelchair friendly. That's true. But at the very least, why wouldn't you be able to, like, move away from the computer? Or the power is out and you can't use the wheelchair lift. Power outage. Yeah. So that definitely makes sense as far as leaving, right? That definitely makes sense as far as leaving. But that wouldn't explain why you couldn't just leave the computer. That's the only thing that I want to explain off. Or we'll have to, like, potentially make the room and make it so that that is interactable. Maybe they can go and talk to their coworkers and or explain to them what was happening. Maybe we could implement something like that. So let's see. Potential ads. Let's add communication with coworkers to help mediate the situation, like calm them down, as a potential ad. I definitely don't think it's an MVP. If we don't have time to make it so that they can go around and communicate with their coworkers, then we would need to kind of explain somewhat narratively as of why the player can't just go. And not go necessarily leave, because what you said makes sense as far as electricity and then, like, elevator and lift. That totally makes sense. But more to do with, like, because they're also on a computer screen. They have to have electricity. Maybe it's like emergency power, but the emergency power only functions for the phones and for the sending emergency personnel, but not the elevator. But that would sound... No, maybe you can have UPS for the PC but not the elevator. Oh ooh, that's not bad. What if at a certain point the UPS could also run out of power? Like, as you're trying to prevent this thing for as long as you can, and the time is ticking until eventually the UPS runs out, and then you can't help anyone anymore. And then the phone rings. Maybe. Let's see. Let's see here. Before music. These are some thoughts, endings. Let's see. Let's put that in potential ads. Look into electricity going out and UPS being utilized for PCs. Yeah. Music. Oh wait, did we skip anything? Accumulation of stress. Because there are less and less people, the player will receive calls more often until eventually they have to choose which calls to take and which ones to ignore, and then eventually too many things pile up and then the player loses. Target audience: people who enjoy or watching people play horror games that make you utilize critical thinking. People who enjoy feeling of dread. Aesthetics. So aesthetics, we have to make the decision. I'm gonna say, when did the big bulky white computer monitors stop being utilized? Was it early 2000s? That's kind of where I'm leaning towards, especially the overall inspirations for analog horror. That's where my brain goes to. So let's say, like, yeah, early 2000s. So we'll do early 2000s. One more zero. Good job, idealist. Early 2000s equipment. I'm not going to say that it's going to be based in the early 2000s, because if anyone has worked in a government job before, they don't update their shit for like a decade. So this could easily be in the 2010s. Like easily 2010s. Like it's not even close. Like I wouldn't say 2020. 2020 would be a bit much. But especially a small town, like you don't have a whole lot. Yeah, it's just, I would say early 2000 equipment specifically, not necessarily the time period. Using floppy disks for that's crazy. That's of anything, floppy disks, bro. Like data has become so cheap for so long. I'm surprised. So early 2000s equipment. It will be like, I'm gonna say pixelated. Government's reluctance to move. I will never overestimate government's reluctance to move. I will never. That is something that is. I always assume. Always. I would say pixelated. Computer graphics. Literally like graphics on the computer screen, but I'm not gonna say realistic outside of it, but 3D models outside of computer screen. So like the shadows of people and stuff aren't going to be pixelated, right? The moving into the building isn't going to be pixelated. Those are going to be 3D models in a 3D space. And that's one thing that when we were talking about the game engine as far as Click Team, I'll have to see if Click Team allows a kind of like a 3D just kind of like cutscene almost to like just get the player into in front of the screen before they can start clicking around. But hey, that's what we're going to check out. 3D models outside of the computer screen. And then this might classify as aesthetics or not, but phone calls will have that what do you call it, where they have that slight voice alteration, you know what I mean? Phone calls will have that metallic alteration, like they are talking through an older phone. Not full on radio, like kind of tinge, but like just a little bit, just slight one. Any other aesthetics that we want to potentially do? Let's add glitches on the screen occasionally as a potential add. Phone lines don't need electricity. Yes. Some phones are internet-based for business and electricity. You might need to use that later on. I did know that phone lines don't necessarily need electricity. Yeah, that is a very good point. I was aware of that, and I was planning on playing with that. If we were going to go in the direction of electricity being out, the phone would still ring. At the very, very least, you know what? This is what we're going to do. Where's that potential ending? Where are the endings? Here we go. At the very least, at the very end, the power will go out. I do want that. Even if we don't do the power out before and then we do the UPS thing, I still at the very end want the screen to turn off, everything to be silent, there's no one there anymore, and then the phone will ring. I want that. Because I love that as a peak. Like the things have been building up for this moment. Things of dread and powerlessness has led up to that moment, and finally the phone rings and you pick up the phone. and I need to figure out what's gonna be said. Oh man, mwah. Listen, the ending is the best. I'm not gonna say the ending is the most important part, but it's probably top 3 in a game, because how you leave the game says a lot. You don't want to leave the game feeling disappointed. You want to leave the game feeling, I don't know. I don't really know what I want them to feel. Do I want them to feel relief? Do I want them to feel even more dread? Do I want them to feel... I feel like, because you don't listen, I'm a huge fan of juxtaposition. Usually, happiness is better when like combined with dread or next to dread, and vice versa, right? You want the higher the up, the further difference between the ups and the downs, the better it is in my mind. And off the top of my head, what we could potentially do is the phone will ring and it's help. It's someone saying that we received calls, we are sending people to your location, like, you'll be okay. And then it was a mimic, or it was the imposter. Or there's a slight change to it, so you're not sure if it was an imposter. That could be interesting. Or it's like, oh, was it help? Can you believe that if it was help or not? Or just get you just as you see the light of the helicopter approaching the town. I don't think I'm gonna have them get him. I want, because their behavior is to stalk. They leave one person alive and then they stalk that one person. They observe. So they'll let the main character win or live, but wherever they go to, that's the next stop. That's the next meal. Yeah, that's something that we need. It needs more thought. Figuring out how we go about through the end, I think it will feel a lot more natural once we've really pinpointed the overall feel of the game and how it plays out and how we decide to like balance things accordingly. And then what feels natural after the end of that is what we'll go for. But I like the idea of a helicopter coming in. That is good. Let's see. Trying everything at the end, the power will go out. You're not Bro, you are absolutely fine. You're not. It's not about you being good. It's not about being good or bad at game dev. What matters is that you have ideas that you can throw out. That's what matters. Because like it doesn't matter if we move forward with that particular idea or not. What you do is that you give a different perspective. Exactly. You like storytelling. The suggestions that you've made are from a different perspective from myself, and that is valuable. So don't hold yourself down so much for it. You are doing absolutely fine. If we move forward with it, I mean, we'll see. But at the very least, hey Lux, how you doing? I'm an infra person? What's an infra person? Infrastructure? Oh, you do servers. Oh, that's awesome. I believe that. I totally believe that. But yeah, no, like just like the ideas give me the point of view, and if anything, it points out a potential problem that needs to be addressed at the bare minimum. So, by all means, like, no worries. So the endings, we have the tried anything, we have the turtle, we have a couple thoughts. You need to stop the imposters from finding out how you do it. Look, I also come from science. Like, it's one of those things where, especially, you'd be surprised how often there are creative people in not creative fields. And especially if it's like that sense of fulfillment, like creative fulfillment, where they just don't get it from their job. I'm one of those. Like I needed creative fulfillment, and my job was not supplying that like at all. And like, so I definitely get that kind of that feeling of like, well, you would be surprised. I was like, well, not really. But I'm glad you're able to kind of stretch your creative muscles here. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Give me 1 second. I'm going to get a refill of water. And this is a reminder for y'all to stay hydrated. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Oh, sorry I missed you, Alex. Have a good one. And you're always welcome here, Lux. Oh, I'm glad you loved it. Yeah, come back anytime. 2 to 6 is where I'm usually at. And yeah, you'll have a good one. Enjoy your night. I should probably actually turn this text off. All right, let's see here. Let us see, just to make sure. Oh, sorry, 2 to 6 Eastern. I should really specify that. And if you want, I can post the. Oh, no problem. You have a good one. All right. Let us continue. So then we can decide what kind of game engine we want to use. Problem. Types of emergency calls. Apply imposter to take over the home. The player sends out a perfect personnel, prevents the house, so that's funny. I mean, that's fine. Not every imposter interaction will lead to calling the emergency number. When you want to disrupt assumptions, I'll keep that on there. Flaws in the imposters can be either vocal. Yep. As the night progresses, the calls end up being for people who act strangely. Versus identification is lost. What if we have danger level? Do we want to stick with this? Let's see. This is our conversation as far as imposters, where they come from. Did we add that to the characters already? Less people develop new predator here. Yep, that is. Okay. Trying to utilize from level bill. Okay. So we did aesthetics. I believe we covered those. Characters. We have the monsters. We have relationship with the main character that they're being stalked. We have coworkers. Just normal people, NPCs that want to just get through the night. Let's see here. Let's kind of go through like the different kind of behaviors and not NPC. What kind of different behaviors people would utilize in this situation, right? Start panicking when things are going wrong. You have the bailer, the person who decides they want to just run away. Right? So you have the person who decides they just want to run away, right? And then so they're just gone, they just leave. Supposedly they get killed on the way out. Right? You have the let's see here. A panicker? What's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to think of like a good word to describe somebody who would just shut down and then just like cry in a corner, where they're just kind of like freaking out. They just like they're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do, so their brain just kind of like, you know, they just flatlines, and then they just are just rambling in the corner. Breaker, maybe? Thanks for the pets, as always, Lex. Runaway breaker, the person who breaks mentally and just cries in the corner. Then you have the person who is a provider, the person who stays until, or who leaves to go protect the people they love. Right? So you have the people that run away immediately. You have the people who break mentally. You have the people who stick to as long as they can until when they think their family might be in trouble, and then they leave to take care of the ones that they love. And then you would have people that would stay the whole time. But how would I explain that away? We'll add it. We'll figure it out. Ride or die. The person who stays with you the whole time. I'm going to put asterisk there. So you have the coworkers, you have the monsters, you have the main character. Die or ride. Main character. Let's see here. Does their best. No. Best and to try to help as many people as possible. Yeah, people as possible. I mean, because you also kind of get a read on the main character's personality, because they're going back to work while in a wheelchair from an accident that they had. Right? Like, a lot of people wouldn't do that. Most people would be kind of ride out that until they're healthy again. So either they are forced to go back because they are not covered, or like for money reasons, or job security, job security, which wouldn't make sense because it's a small town. Right, in my mind, a small town, you keep as many people as you can. Like, no one's really gonna be going for your job. As far as money, I can see money. Goes back to work. Reason, money, or sense of duty, or maybe both. Right? Or maybe we leave that ambiguous on purpose and let people, because that's a thing too, right? You want to, it's one of the reasons why Five Nights at Freddy's is why a lot of these really, really good horror games, they kind of they move forward with the mentality of, like, you don't want to explain everything. You want to give just enough information. And that is an art in of itself, to properly sprinkle the breadcrumbs so that people know they are enough to get curious, enough that they get a little bit of a snack, but they have to put in the rest themselves. So we don't want to explain everything, because one, that's more work for us. We got 3 months. The clock is ticking, right? So we don't explain everything, but we need to explain enough so that people are still interested in it. So as far as the main character, as far as reasons go back to work, that may fall under the category of who cares. But I think it would also be good for us to know the reasons why people do things, because that will allow, especially if we are going to be writing the interactions that this character has with other people, then we need to be able to know what kind of character we're dealing with here and how they would normally respond. There is a big difference between going to work because you are forced to out of necessity or out of personal beliefs. That says very different things for a person. So, yeah. Let's see here. Sorry, I was checking Discord. Monsters, coworkers. I think that's it. As far as characters, I think those are the only three. Coworkers, monsters, and character. Our main character. And for the MVP, it's literally going to be really straightforward of, like, there'll be 5 people. As time goes on, 1 person leaves. Your workload increases. And then it just goes on with that and like that and like that. So it's, you do your best, things get worse. You continue to do your best, things get worse. You continue doing your best, things get worse. Your best isn't good enough anymore, things get worse. Like that. It's our first version is gonna look so bad. It's literally gonna be squares, and it's just gonna be like coworker 1 leaves. It's gonna be, but we need to do it that way to know if it feels good. Does it feel good? Does it give a sense of dread? Does it give that feeling, even though you're dealing with squares? Because if it doesn't give you that feeling, even though we're dealing with squares, then the squares is gonna help. Fixing the squares so they're not just squares is gonna help somewhat, but it's not gonna. It's like amplification, where it's percentage based. So if what you're dealing with is a low number, adding all the other bells and whistles will increase it by a certain percentage. But if the bass isn't high enough, it's not a whole lot. But if your bass is really high, if it's really good, then adding percentage to that just makes it even better, right? You can also see it as like adding salt. You know what I mean? Like, adding salt to most things makes it really good, but like adding salt to something that's already delicious makes it so good. Anyway, I got on this tangent enough. We did endings, we did characters, target audience, aesthetics. We're done with thoughts. Let's go to music. Music, suspenseful, supernatural, suspenseful. I can't spell? What's wrong with my brain? Suspenseful music. I want tense music. Do we want suspenseful the whole time, or only when things start to go weird? I certainly don't want chill music. Right? We don't want chill music in a stressful situation where you're helping people, right? Suspenseful music that gets more suspenseful as things go wrong. Music will I can't spell right now. Music will end at the end of the game, giving the slight feeling of relief, only to be met with the phone ringing. And then sound at the beginning of the game, there's constant sounds of phone ringing, conversations happening, but are not understandable. However, as people leave to check on the homes or loved ones, the sounds start to taper, eventually leaving only the player's phone ringing. So this is background. Phone ringing. Probably mouse clicking. We probably want to... sound should be utilized in a way that amplifies action, right? It's why when fighting or action games in particular are very like, when something feels like it hits hard and the sound is there to back it up, oh, it feels so good. Same with this sound and music. Listen, we can sit here all the time, but sound and music is the cornerstone of horror games. This has to be done well. So we have to have good, clean sound and music that can match it. I kind of want to drink A1 sauce. Why are you drinking A1 sauce? Lux. Why are you drinking A1 sauce? My guy. Okay, look. As somebody, I am known as a ketchup person. I love ketchup. That it's to the point where at one of my birthdays, I was given a box of 1,000 ketchup packets that you would find in a like restaurant. I finished that in a month. No, 3 months. 1 month it would have been crazy. I think it was 3 months. 1,000 packets in 3 months. So, and that's coming from me. I would never drink ketchup. I have ketchup on so many things, but I would not drink ketchup. It is, but so I am curious. It's just a unique taste. It is a unique taste. Personally, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of A1 sauce. At the very least, use it as a dipping sauce for something else you're gonna eat. Like put it on some I think, would A1 sauce do well on vegetables? I feel like it would be. Like some good like broccoli or green beans or something. Would A1 sauce do well with that? I almost associate it with something like soy. It's like soy adjacent to me. But I actually like soy. A1 sauce Jello! Your body, I guess, but I would not recommend that. Are you gonna miss the A1 sauce with like gelatin? Get some auger. Actually, I don't know if auger is edible or not. Oh gosh. All right. I mean, just let me know how it is, I guess. Don't recommend it, but I guess let me know how it goes. Background, phone ringing, mouse clicking. What else would be good? What else would be good sounds that could be utilized well? Huh. I do not know. I don't know what else could be utilized well here. So I guess we'll leave the sound design there, and we just go to game engine. Well, first let's see here. Features, cool features, unique elements you want to include in your game. We got that. Interface, list of player input, controls. Oh, let's do that. After characters, no, let's do it after sound. After sound, we'll do interface. Interface, the player clicks the locations of where to send the emergency vehicles and which ones to send. Click the phone to answer it and listen to the caller. I think that's it. I think that's literally it. I think those are the only real interface interactions, which feels really simple, but that's kind of good. You want simple interactions and interfaces in games. The more complex it gets, the less and less people will be inclined to, unless they've already gotten accustomed to that kind of game. Like I know many people who can't play like certain like perspective games because they don't feel good. I know some people who literally can't move and look at the same time as far as like controllers and stuff like that. So the more complex the interface is, the more people that you're kind of removing as a potential for people playing. So clicking, pretty good. As far as that's kind of as simple gets, and I don't think there'll be any kind of like movement or WASD or anything like that. It's just interacting. Art style, already got that. That's going to be that one. Music, sound, got it. Then we go develop roadmap and launch criteria. We'll figure the. Actually, you know what? We should do it first. Actually. Let's go ahead and make my favorite thing, an Excel spreadsheet. Ooh. Yeah, I'm one of those. All right, let's save this as wait, I already have a game development studio? Hold on. Open game development schedule. Oh, yeah, no. We're gonna save this as game, or no, not even game development. We should call it the last call hub. That's what we'll call it. This first one, we're going to do development roadmap. Can I click this? I guess not. Maybe I need edit access in order to actually click it. But if we look at mass flux here, well, first before we get into the roadmap super hard, let's make sure that we covered our bases here as well, right? Inspiration, player experience, platform. Platform is PC. Right, is that what it's asking for? Yep. As much as I would love to have this game be on consoles, that takes a lot of time and that takes money investment that I do not have, unfortunately. Especially with the idea of clicking. So let's go ahead and do that. Design pillars, let's do before summary. Actually, before design pillars. Platform, PC. Development software, that's pretty good. Dev software. We're currently in the process of figuring out the dev software for utilization of like game engines and stuff like that. I will probably, wow, what am I saying? Ugh, get a drink of water, I guess. As far as music, I'm probably end up buying FL Studio. Then for other, like utilizing art, Blender. For the 3D models, maybe a sprite for the screen. We'll see. We'll figure out what we need to do for what software that we're going to be utilizing for making all the assets in the game. But FL Studio for music and sound, and Blender seems like a really good start. And then we can figure out what would be a good place for the screen. Target audience, got that. Gameplay overview, got it. Theme interpretation, sacrifice of strength, okay. Primary mechanics, secondary mechanics, art, design, audio, sound effects, UI and controls. I believe I already went over UI and controls. I don't think I did. Oh, UI probably was something that I interacted with to try to figure out what game to choose. That's right. Interface, so we'll do clicks, etc. UI. Only menu is the beginning and ending of the game. Except pause. I don't see a reason why not to include a pause menu. So let's look here. Gameplay overview, theme interpretation. I think we've covered all this for the most time. Primary mechanics. We talked about sending things. Let's see, they're a little more mechanically complex of what we're doing. Ours is actually pretty straightforward, just more critical thinking. The soft dark unique accent color. Music reverb. Okay, let's see how they describe music. To add the overall theme and vibe of the game, there will be a minimalism incorporated into the music. Heavy use of reverb and effects to fill space within the few instruments. Bass and drums will generally constitute the majority of tracks, and accompanying softer sounds, mainly through synthesized sounds rather than acoustic, will further suggest the retro style. I don't know enough about music to barely understand most of what was said, but we're going to figure that out. Utilizing many shades of white and black followed by the art restriction. Keyboards, controls, gamepad. Okay, so now This is the hub. We're going to do development roadmap. And we're going to use this as a base for our roadmap. So let me switch over for... Boop. I apologize if this blinds you. It is a lot of white. Alright, so... assignments... I don't think we got to worry about type. We do need to worry about finish. Oh, am I quiet? Hold on. Hello? Blah, blah, blah. Hello? Let me turn myself up a little bit. How do I sound? A little better? How about now? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Am I a little better, maybe? Or did I accidentally touch this a little bit? Hold on. How about now? Maybe a little better? Wait, can I... No, it's quite alright. Let me know if I'm too loud. If I'm too loud, I'll cut myself back down. Status. Alright, so, and then this will be finish. Oh, so this is finish by. So we have 1, 2, and then we go all the way down. Yeah. Well, it doesn't look like I'm peaking the mic, so I think either way, I could go a little bit more if need be. It's when I peak that I'm like, oh, I need to cut that down. Oh, there's the peak. All right, I'm turning myself back down. Whoop. There we go. Ha 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 ha. All right. Assignment. We design the document. Status. Ongoing. Finish by today. Create player and wall assets. Level theme. Oh, so this is why they put it into different groups, because if you have different people working on different things, they have different like timelines, right? But we ain't doing that. This is all solo, baby. This is solo dev. Hoorah. Main menu theme, UI main menu. I feel like AI UI main menu is kind of not the first thing you do. I feel like making the game first and then the menu after the game feels more right. So let's do create. We do need to create simple objects, right? What is this? Not started. Okay. So we need to create simple objects, because if we don't have the simple objects, there's nothing for us to interact with, right? So create simple objects. Then we need to make create our simple interactions, right? Because let's kind of think of it through, right? We are making simple objects so that we can interact. Then we make the interactions. Then we I'm just reading through them. Sound effects, pause menu, level select menu, level design, extra pause, submit. Okay. So simple interactions. Then we need to figure out create logic. Oh, simple. So we are able to interact. Then we need to create imposter spread. You know what? Let's put this into groups. Maybe they had a good call on that. Let's put this type. Other, create simple objects. That is art. Simple interactions. That's coding. Coding for imposter spread. And then create system, resource system. And by resource system, I mean, so just trying to think here as far as the order in which we want to go about this. We make the document, check. We create simple objects, done. Actually, even before this, choose engine, other, ongoing. We'll give ourselves until Wednesday, the 15th, to finish choosing the engine. The starting, the finish, the starting simple objects, I plan on that being the 20th. At the absolute latest. I would like to be done by the end of Monday, right? If we start earlier, awesome, perfect, great. And we want to make sure that all this lines up so that we can be done. We're planning the end of June. Not whenever. Well, listen, the whole point is so that we can be done within a certain amount of time, because I have bills to pay. And this is going to get infinitely harder if I have to pick up another 9 to 5. So I want to be able to finish this before I get to that point where I'm like, crap, I need to shift gears again. So then, so simple interactions. So we're going to be planned on to the end of June. End of June is our release day. So, and with that in mind, we are an understanding that this probably will be pushed forward by a certain amount. So then the real end date is the end of July. That's the real end date. But we're moving forward with the end of June. And then if it gets pushed, it's fine. It gets pushed. We have that barrier of if everything goes exactly as we want, then we did it a month ahead of time. Awesome, perfect. We're good to go. And then we can move forward with like, okay, how did it turn out? Did it make good money? Are people loving it? Are people liking it? Did it need more iteration? Can we throw in extra stuff? Did we want to kind of get greedy with it a little bit, right? Does it need a little more polish? Of shotgun farmers and bopped battle? What the hell is bopped battle? Bopped battle? Bobble battle? Is that maybe what you're talking about? You battle your friends as a goofy slime? Yeah, the little like the party games, the games that you kind of like play, like games with your friends, or even with just random people if need be. I mean, if I was really following the trends, I'd make another horror, like a little horror Lethal Company like game. But nah, that's going to get oversaturated so quickly. By the time I'm actually done, people are going to be so over it. So yeah, so this finish timeline should be end of June. So we choose an engine. Then in that engine, we make simple objects. These are just squares and circles and things like that, where we make a screen. We make a literal cube for the computer, and a screen, which is just a square, and then a bunch of squares on that in that screen. Yeah, Lethal Company isn't standing much longer. I mean, Lethal Company's fine. I had a lot of time with Content Warning, and I probably will still play that occasionally with friends. But Content Warning was good. Lethal Company was super good. But yeah, it's definitely like it's done its thing. It got super hyped. It's got super good. It's super cool. Now it's kind of stayed its welcome. So I'm in agreement that it's not standing too much longer in the aspect of like, and I think the developer probably could also tell where it's like it's time to move on to the next thing if they haven't already. I should probably play his other games, because he made a couple of other horror games too. Anyway, simple. So the simple objects is just shapes that we can then use to interact with, to like, because if we try to interact with something that doesn't have an actual shape, it would be so much harder to do. Then we have interactions, aka click on it. If clicking on it make things happen, I need to code that. So we go in code of like, you send this to here, and then that moves. Like if I click this red square, which is like fire truck, to go to this other gray square, which is a house, what happens? And it's like, it moves, but how does it move? Does it move in a way where, like, does it follow roads? Does it go straight there? Does it like see things happening, right? And then create imposter spread. So once we have good interactions of sending things, then we need to create the rule of that there is an invisible force that is now spreading. And then we need to, that is recourse, my guy, resource. Oh my gosh, who wrote this? Can't be me. Create imposter spread, then create resource system that would allow, like, the resource system is what is going to allow the player to like interact and play with the game. Like, this is the one where it's like, we need to make it feel good. If anything, this is probably the most important thing in this whole game, is making sure this resource system feels good. Does it feel fun? Does it feel challenging? Does it feel challenging but not too hard? Does it feel too obvious? Yeah, like, so create the resource system, and once the resource system is figured out, then we make a phone call, audio, make phone calls, phone call system, that's coding, and then make phone calls, which is audio. So we want to make the system for the phone calls. So something uber simple. I mean, like, it will say imposter. It will say do not send. It will say send ambulance, or send a policeman, or send fire truck, or whatever. It will say that. It won't even say words that you have to figure out. It's literally, well, in that case, write phone, you know what? Write phone scripts. Writing. Write phone scripts, right? Because in order to make the call, we need to know what they're gonna say. Yeah, we need to write the scripts, and then we need to create the audio of that script. This part not gonna lie, we're probably gonna utilize AI. If we want to make this as diverse as we want it to be, like, we're probably gonna have to utilize some kind of text-to-speech situation, and then create. I know. Listen. AI is a tool. I'm not gonna use AI for art. That's 100% what I'm not gonna do AI for art. Fuck that. But AI as a tool is very handy when it comes to this kind of stuff. So like, and first of all, it's not AI generated writing, right? It's AI generated text to speech that we're going to put through a filter. So create imposter filter. It's an audio. So it will be like, okay, cool. It's so that it's not going to be my voice in every single phone call. Or we're going to need some kind of voice changing, right? Like we have to make sure that there's enough diversity where it's just not me talking at the player the whole time. That's going to get annoying. So there has to be some variety where it's like, why is the same dude in every single house? So like we need an imposter filter. We need to make phone calls for audio. And so either we're going to have the phone calls be the AI alteration is either going to be text to speech, voice the narrator. If there's going to be a narrator, I'm definitely voicing it. I don't think there's going to be a narrator though. I might be the person who helps pushes the main character into the building though. I can see myself doing that. I don't think I'm going to have the main character talking. But I guess if there's going to be communication with coworkers, then there would have to be. But I'm going to think about it. If anything... Now, the best case scenario is I can find a really good voice changer that would change my voice so that I sound like a different person. That would be best case scenario. I feel like that's fine. Does that also take voice mod? Voice mod, but better. Because voice mod, as far as I'm aware, voice mod, it makes you sound weird and potentially goofy, but it doesn't make you sound like a completely normal, different person. At least from my experience with voice mod. And as much as I can definitely also see that being concerning to utilize, because that's also means that you're not hiring people like you're not hiring people for their voices that you normally would have to. So it is taking money out of their mouths. But I just don't have the money or time to utilize other people's voices in a way that would need the diverse amount that I need for this game. So we will kind of cross that bridge when we come to it as far as the best path forward, but that's why we're putting it on here. That's why we're probably the phone by itself is probably going to take a full week of doing, if not longer, of just setting this up in a way that like it feels good, where we utilize the tools in a way that feels like we're not like just being cheap, but it also doesn't sacrifice the quality of what we're trying to do, which is difficult, which is really difficult. So we create the imposter filter, aka where they make it sound just a little bit off, which also I like the idea with like AI generated also already feels a little off, which could also play a role in this as well, where we can kind of like, if there is a slider where it's like, I want you to be less efficient, it might be interesting to play with that. But let's move on. So create imposter filter. We've interactions, spread, resource system, everything in the background is now good to go. We now make a phone system so that it's good for the player to be able to interact with that, and then make the right decisions. And then Maybe even before the phone system. Create NPC not relationship, but like create NPCs that want to leave, right? Like we have to put that in there where it's like, oh, create NPC leaving. That's not how you go about it, but that's how things get worse and worse and worse is when they leave, right? And then you create the imposter filter, and then after that, this is where it's like, make sound effects, audio. Let's see here. We don't need any movements. There's the menus. They made menus before levels? That's crazy. That's mind-boggling to me. I feel like menus is like the last thing. Or one of the last things. I think after the sound effects, make music, audio. Now, we've essentially made a game by this point. This is the game at this point. We've made the object. We have simple objects. We have good interactions. We have a good resource system. Imposters are spreading. NPCs leave, thus creating that increased things going wrong. Then we make the phone system, the scripts, the calls, the signs of everything is there. Figuring out who is the problem is there. Then we make sound effects. Now that all the systems are in place, we can now make the sounds actually feel good and interactable, like picking up the phone makes a sound, clicking on things make a sound, then maybe a slight hum to the computer, maybe lights in the background, you know, the sounds of people talking in the background as it gets less throughout the game. And then we make music that kind of plays off of everything. Like, everything feels like a horror game, except it doesn't look like a horror game at this stage. So now we make main menu. Let's Find Larry is a goofy game. Hold on. Let me see. Let's Find Larry. Let's Find Larry. Oh. What the heck is this thing? What are you? What is this game? Is this like... Is this kind of like... what do you call it? The one where you try to find the red striped man. I don't know why his name escapes me at the moment. I don't know why. It's a horror game based off of Where's Waldo? Thank you. Where's Waldo? I've never played that one. Is it fun? We might be something that we can add to our thing to play. Okay. I might add it. We can play it. Though tomorrow we're focusing on ending Dredge. So maybe Thursday. Depending. Either that or Animal Well. Because if we're gonna do the modded inscription, I want to do it at like the beginning of a week, not at the tail end of a week. Yeah, I want to do like a kind of like a shortish game, or have like a list of short games where like we're in between two fairly long like series, not long, but like multiple streams worth of a game, like a little bit of a break instead of going from like. It's kind of like, okay, we do Dredge for like 3 or 4, like 3 streams. Then we do like a short game, and then another game that's like 3 or 4 streams, and then a short game. Kind of mix it up a little bit. Make main menu. Coding. Maybe main menu should be further up. Maybe. I'm just trying to think as far as like ease of going into the game, right? Would it be better to have the menu that interacts with the game be done in the beginning or in the end? I don't know. Well, they definitely have it so that the main... Well, the pause menu is pretty far down the list. Level select menu is pretty far down the list. Main menu, however, is like the first coding thing that they do. So I think they might do that for a reason. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do that. I don't know enough whether or not this is okay or not, but seeing a list of someone who has done this in the past, they may know something I don't. So we'll make the main menu. Make music. Make pause and death menu. Coding. Or end of game menu. There's no death. There's just end. Pause and end menu. And then that we go to make art assets. Make art assets for the game. And then polish. Right. So let's see here. Make this is choose engine by the end of for Wednesday. Then create player and wall assets. We'll do main menu. We'll have that be choose engine by the 15th, make main menu by the 18th. Create simple objects 20th of May. (22nd) simple interactions. Imposter spread 24th. Create resource system. I'm gonna give myself 2 days for that. 29 May. NPC leaving, that one we can do the 31st. Let's make sure I don't have anything else going on today. Okay, good. Making sure. Make phone system. I think the scripts calls. Let's see here. We'll do the make phone systems the 3rd June. And 5th of June for the scripts. 7th of June for the calls. And then the 7th we'll also do the filter. And then we have the 10th for the sound effects. And then the 12th for the music. 13th. Or wait. 14th for the pause and end menu. And then we make art the 21st. Let's find it because it starts off as a goofy point and click game. Oh! That's kind of cool. Does it become no longer point and click? Oh. See, I do love those games with the dispersion of assumptions. So we'll give ourselves a week to make art assets and then another week to polish the game. This is our current schedule. Well, actually, it's more like yeah, and then the release it started 1st July. Yeah. Music for game and menus. So this way it will be released on July 1st, or it would be released on August 1st, I guess. Potentially. It also made by the people who made Night of the Consumers? Night of the Consumers. Oh, these guys. Oh yeah. I can see the comparison. Yeah, I can see it. Good on them. That's awesome. Okie dokie. So got that, and then bring this back up. So this is what we have for our development roadmap for right now. We are currently doing the game design document. We'll do an engine. We'll figure out the engine on the 15th. So we're going to finish both of these. We'll do that. The design document and we choosing the engine should be done on the same day. Then we'll make the menu once we have the engine figured out, and then we'll move with all the rest of this other stuff. It looks like we're within our things. Granted, am I super confident that I can do simple interactions in a 4-hour period? No. Or creating a resource system. I did give myself 8 hours to do the resource system, but that may not be long enough, depending. NPC leaving. Some of these are like, I'm not 100% sure I can complete in what the thing is, but also I know that there are others where I'm like, I could probably double dip in this. Create NPC leaving. That should be relatively simple and probably shouldn't take 4 hours to do. And that's what these mean, by the way. If things are done within a day, it's a 4-hour period, because that's how long I stream for. Which isn't necessarily super accurate in the aspect of, like, you know, a 9-to-5 job where you put 8 hours into it. But for me, at least at this point in time, with, you know, what I am able to do at a current workload, 4 hours is kind of like the top of like super focused work, at least at any given time. Especially if I'm trying to balance all this stuff out as well, aka streaming and YouTube, etc. So that being said, I think we might be okay. I don't think we're missing anything. We have art, we have sound, we have music, we have interactions, we have coding. We have all the decisions along the way. Let's look, and then we'll decide if what we want to do. I mean, also something to consider as well is that like throughout this process, we should also be like marketing. You know what I mean? Like we should be also being like, hey, like add this to wish lists and things of that nature. So we polish / prep store page. Because we have to also figure out like how are we putting it in, because the game design document, they just have create the itch.io page. They're going to put it on itch.io. I'm planning on putting it on Steam, hopefully. Maybe that's the best decision, maybe that's not, but should that be made ahead of time? Probably. But we kind of also need to get started on this. There isn't a whole lot that you need to do near the beginning as far as like the store page, I think. I know has one of my favorite games called ZTech. I mean, would you recommend utilizing itch.io instead of Steam? ZTech. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Oh, the man from the window. Solo indie developer. You would kindly consider following me on the various socials. Okay, I see you. Okay. I see it. Good on them. That's awesome. Yeah, I can tell they do make horror games as well, which is awesome. Then let's see. Oh, I'm running out of steam. Man, I wish I liked coffee. I could really go for some coffee right now. Let let's see. The icing on the are the characters really scary or really amusing? To polish, undo extra levels. Let us check. What is kaboom.js? JavaScript. JavaScript game programming library that helps you make games fast and fun. Initialize Kaboom context, start point of all Kaboom games. Okay, so it seems like it's just a very, very thick. Oh my gosh, is he one of the ones that made those, like, the really thick rabbit-eared lady, and you have to hide in like the bathtub or the closet or something if someone breaks in? Okay, all right, I know who you're talking about. I know who exactly you're talking about now. That's the man from the window. Oh yeah, I forgot that was the name of it. Game objects. It does simplify. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. All right. So let's look at Click Team. Lone Fungus. Fusion Free Edition developer. What the heck is... The creation has never been easier, quicker with Click Team Fusion 2.5. With your first hour, you'll have learned the basics of the tools. Compile, Andrew, upgrade your development environment, beginning developer. Full version versus free. The free is a famous range of game creation software from Click Team. Now comes a completely free edition containing all of the editors, interfaces, clever ideas that made our previous styles so successful. Powerful games and apps for free. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop as far as like how much. Discover the designing games and apps with just your mouse. Games and apps with just your mouse. From character and level design to programming, everything is done visually. If you can read, you can program. Numbers and alongside versatile platform. Discover for yourself. See what you can create today. Outstanding community user support. Free artwork library. I plan to pretty much try to make all my things by themselves. What is the full version? The full quick buy. Thanks for visiting website. 100. It's 100. Okay. Upgrade your development, getting developer access to exclusive developer features and logo free use of runtimes. Got you. So they have the logo up unless you pay for it. Okay. Alright, let's check out Godot. Godot is what I was considering before. Because I feel like that's pretty good. I'll probably do a little bit more research, which is why I set the decision for choosing. I don't think we can consider the game design document complete until we have chosen our game engine, and potentially other programs that we plan on using. We could say it's quote unquote complete, and then when we make those decisions, when we come to it, we just update the game design document and call it a day. But maybe look at the comparison a little bit more. I know for Unreal, if we want like very good realistic graphics, we want Unreal Engine. Like if we went forward with Wolf in the Woods instead of Last Call, I would have done Unreal. Like there probably would have been hands down maybe Unity. But like I would have wanted that realistic like lighting and shading and that's very much the aesthetic that I would have been going for that one. But for this one, it's much less important. So definitely not Unreal. I'm still hesitant to use Unity from when they kind of pulled that shit for retroactively making people pay to give them a portion of profits before the implementation of that particular rule. They backpedaled hard, but it did betray a lot of trust in a lot of people, including myself. I think the consensus overall is like, I don't think it would have stopped people to use Unity for games they are currently using it for, but it would stop people from using Unity for future games that they were going to make, which is me in my case, and it's true. Like it makes me worried, like suddenly Unity makes a decision and then oops, I now owe Unity a crap ton of money that I don't have, right? And I want to avoid that. So if Godot fills Godot is the one where I don't have any experience in. Like I've used Unity before, I've used Unreal Engine before, though minimally, but Godot I haven't used at all. I have never used Godot. And it seems like there's a good variety of like different stuff that'd be very, very nice, very interesting to make. You're not concentrate on bug fixing until we reach a stable. Okay. Different way to make games. Innovative design. Godot's node and scene system gives you both power and flexibility to create anything. Keep your code modular with an object-oriented API using Godot's own GDS script, C#, C++, or bring your own. Okay. Dedicated 2D engine. Make crisp and performant 2D games with Godot dedicated 2D rendering engine and use real 2D pixel coordinates. We are using I wasn't planning on using 2D the whole time. The interaction window on the computer I was going to do 2D because why the hell not? Oh, hold on. Godot's 3D nodes give you everything you need to build and animate and render your 3D worlds and characters. Okay. So it's kind of like, it's a 3D world, but your interaction is going to be 2D. Release on all platforms. Deploy your game on desktop, mobile, and the web in seconds. Godot even supports consoles through third-party publishers. Again, as much as I would love to also release this on consoles, because I feel like consoles are missing that indie horror game niche that they just don't get them, and that's really unfortunate, and that's untapped market right there. But it like I have to have like licensure to be able to put it in there, and that takes time and money, and even to apply for it in order to get the information needed to do that is like, I think it was like 500, I want to say like 500 real dollars in order to even apply for it. And then you have to be approved by making sure that you have the systems in place so that the controller is interactable. And I don't know, like off the top of my head at the very least, as far as utilizing console or at least controller, because it's a point and click, right? So I would have to make it, and it's also more when I think of like Five Nights at Freddy's as far as like a click kind of thing. That's easier on a controller, because on a controller you can make certain doors and lights a particular button, but in this case you are sending resources from one thing to another, so I can't just assign a button to it. Truly open development. Anyone who contributes to Godot benefits equally from others' contributions. That's really cool. I do love that the game that I'm making will help other people make games. There was a part of me that wanted to help kind of like make money on the side to make game assets for people, because I think that's really cool. And it's also a really good way for you to develop your own skill while also helping other people, so that if they don't have the time but they might have the extra cash, they can utilize that. But yeah, it looks like Godot's looking pretty good. Click Team, interesting. It looks like it could be good, but it also looks like one of those things where I would, if I don't pay for it, there seems to be like maybe an overlay to the things I produced, so that would constantly be there unless I paid for it, and that's not good. Like, I want to be able to make this game and make it my own. So maybe Godot is the way to go. And then we have Unity, which I think I already have on my computer. So I think I need to do a little bit more research on Godot and Unity. I'll also look up more research on Click Team as well, because I didn't even know that was a thing. That was really good. That was a really good suggestion. We'll decide that on Wednesday. Then we'll move forward. We'll get a little bit ahead of schedule. We'll move forward with opening it up, get a little familiar with the engine, download it, make the main menus, and then just kind of go down the line. Just go down the assignment here. And we just try to do the best that we can. We try to meet the deadline the more we can. And we try our best to learn from everything that we do in a speed that feels good for us and not to burn out. That's really it. The main goal of this is to finish the game without destroying myself. That's it. That's the goal. I mean, I also want to release something that I'm proud of. As far as like, it's actually good and it's a game that I would want to play, you know? Oh man. I think that might be it though for me. I'm pretty tired now. This was a good one though. This was a good stream. So I think I'll call it here. I apologize that it's less than 4 hours, but you know what? Listen to your body. I was already been kind of tired today, tired yesterday, so it checks out. It's just more of that. Need a little bit more rest. So thank you for joining me. It was wonderful having you, as always. And I will hopefully see y'all tomorrow, same time. Thank you and take care.